Hi everyone. We're going to talk about how to make a putting stroke in golf. I'm going to teach you how to set up to make an effective putting stroke, a drill to help you with your movement pattern, and then another drill to help you with your individual stroke. But before we get to that, if you're enjoying this free content and you'd like to see more, when the video's over, please like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and comment. Okay, so when we look at the full swing, or we teach full swing, there's all sorts of grips, all sorts of movement patterns that work. And when we get to putting, we see an even wider variety of grips, movement patterns, different aims that work. But I do have like 4 key things that I teach at my golf school and in lessons when it comes to putting that I like to see, and it's all setup stuff. So the first thing that I like to see is I like to see the ball in front of middle. So I'm going to do this left-handed, but if you're a right-handed golfer, just pretend you're looking into a mirror. So I like to see the ball forward in your stance. So for a right-handed player, it's going to be the left ear, and for a left-handed player like myself, it's going to be the right ear. So the nose would be the center of my stance. If I get it to my right ear, that's going to be a little in front of center. Now to offset this, I like to see the butt end of the club pointed, again, for a left-handed player, it's going to be right of the sternum, and for a right-handed player, it's going to be left of the sternum or towards your heart or towards the logo on your chest. And again, you can look at Zach Johnson, his hands are behind a little, but when I look at the best putters through the history of time, currently on the PGA Tour, there's just a few things that I see, and most of them, a large percentage of them, have the ball a little more forward with just a little bit of shaft lean, like 1 to 2 degrees of positive shaft lean, and that would be towards the target. So again, I want the ball in front of center. For me, it's going to be off my right ear. I'm going to have the butt end of the club just to the right side of my sternum. Now, as far as posture in golf, one thing that I like to do there, and I think is helpful, is we can just start with our elbows kind of resting against our side and the club parallel to the ground. And if I just bend from my hips forward to get the club head behind the ball, that's going to put me in a generally good position to strike a putt. So to go over that one more time, I'm just going to, my elbows are just resting lightly against the side of my body. And I'm bending from my hips. I'm just creating forward bend to get the club head down behind the ball. And then I just settle in, maybe make a few little adjustments to get comfortable and to settle in. But that's a great little way or drill that you can use to get into good putting posture. Now, 2 other things that I talk about when I'm talking general stroke and setup is I like to see stability in the stroke. And what I mean by this is I play in a lot of pro-ams, a lot of playing lessons, and after I see a player hit the putt, they're giving it this body English to get into the hole. When I watch golf on the weekend, whether it's men or women, professional golfers on TV, after they make the stroke and they hit the putt, I see them hold their finish. So that's a great practice to get into. We've all heard the story of Annika Sorenstam. She'd get 4 or 5 feet from the hole, and she would just make putts, listening for the ball to go in. But that stability and that lack of movement is really important to getting a consistent strike and a consistent roll on the golf ball. Now, last thing I like to talk about, and we'll talk about this more when I give you the next drill we're going to do, but probably one of the most common faults I see with the people that I teach day in and day out, which is the average club player, is I see too much cup of the lead wrist. So they create this little cup or this little scoop where they're trying to give it a little extra power. And what happens is, for a left-handed golfer, when I create that scoop, the club head starts pointing right, and so they hit pulls. And if you're a right-handed, putting right-handed, it would be the left wrist, and as I do that, you can see the club head start to point left. And since the face is the most important variable for the starting direction of the golf ball, that ball is going to start and go left. And so if you struggle with a pull, this would be a good thing, and I like to just introduce this when we're talking setup. So what that is as I'm creating my stability, I'm just taking the back of my lead hand, which for me is my right hand, and I'm just taking it to the target. So you can see how solid that stays. I'm not creating any flip or any wristiness. So I'm just taking the back of my right hand to the target. Notice I said the target and not the hole, because I'm not always aiming for the hole depending on the break. I could be aiming left or right of the hole. So in recap, what I want to see as it pertains to setup is I want to see the ball in front of middle, right ear for lefties, left ear for righties. I want to see the butt end of the club to the right of the sternum for a lefty, and to the left of the sternum or towards the heart for a righty. The posture drill I gave you, just rest your arms against your side, bend from your hips forward to get the club head behind the ball. Then we're going to make sure we create stability through the stroke. And last but not least, we're going to keep the back of the lead hand, for me the back of my right hand, moving towards the target. I'm not letting that right wrist break down, which causes a multitude of errors. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to give you a drill to help learn the proper movement pattern when you're putting, or something that'll give you a great feel that you can take into your putting stroke. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to grab 2 alignment sticks. And if you don't have alignment sticks, just grab 2 long clubs, like your driver in a 3-wood or a 3-wood in a hybrid, 2 of your longer clubs. And I learned this drill from James Seekman. And what we're going to do is we're going to take those 2 long clubs or these alignment sticks and we're going to stick them up under our arms. And I'm going to let them cross in front of me here, and then I'm just going to get my putting grip. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some strokes back and forth. And what this is teaching me to do is it's teaching me to use my shoulders, my chest, my arms, my wrists, my hands, my fingers together in harmony. So I'm not creating these real wristy strokes or these individual movements. Everything is moving together in harmony. So this would be a great way when you know you're going to do some putting, even before you step onto the putting green. Just grab these 2 alignment sticks, grab 2 clubs out of your bag, put them up under your arms, and start to feel what's a proper stroke feel like. What's it, you know, everybody talks about the pendulum. You know, what does the pendulum feel like? And you can see when I do this that the motor of the stroke is really my chest or my shoulders rocking back and forth. And a lot of times when I do this drill with students, not a lot of times, every time I do this drill with students in golf schools, is I'll walk up to them as they're doing it and I'll just put my 2 pointer fingers right on their shoulder blades and just rock them back and forth as they're doing it. It gives them a great feel of how to create their putting stroke. Okay, so one last thing I want you to do when you're working on your putting stroke, you're working on your movement pattern, is I want you to just take an alignment stick, or again, you can use a long club, it'll do the same thing, and just put it on the green. And without a golf ball, go through your setup, but I want you just to use the line on your putter and put it over the alignment stick, and let's work on just taking the putter straight back and straight through. Now, since I'm standing to the side of the golf ball or to the side of the alignment stick, you're going to see the putter head arc in slightly and then arc back in on the forward side because my arms and the club are only so long. But what I want you to do is just get a feel for running it over that alignment stick and keeping the club face as square to the line as we can, which will help us to start the ball more on line. Now, I think it's very interesting when we stand on the driving range during a lesson or practicing that we're working really hard to hit the center of the club face. And not only from east to west or heel to toe hitting the center, but also north and south, not hitting it too high on the face or not hitting it too low. But it's interesting when people go to the putting green, they kind of leave that alone or they forget about that. But to see consistent putts, to see consistent distances, centeredness of contact is very, very important. And one drill I'll do with people, and you can do this as well, is just grab a Sharpie and put a little dot on the ball. And sometimes I'll even take and put a dot on the middle of the putter face. And so when you're putting, what you're doing is you want the dot on the putter face to match up with the dot on the back of the ball. So it's a fantastic drill to help you with centeredness of contact. So the last thing I want to do is I want to bring all this stuff together. So I'm going to point this alignment stick towards this hole here. And I'm going to imagine there's a dot on the back of that golf ball, and I'm going to imagine there's a dot right on the center of this club face. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the ball forward in my stance, so off my right ear. And I'm going to make sure the butt end of my club is pointed right of my sternum. I'm going to get my posture by resting my arms just lightly against my side and bending from my hips forward. I'm going to make sure I stay stable and I get the back of that right hand going to the target. But before I do that, I'm just going to step over here to my alignment stick. I'm just going to make some strokes back and forth, making sure that I stay over that line, that I'm not drifting out to the left, I'm not drifting too far to the inside, either on the back stroke or the front stroke, but I'm staying pretty close to that line that's on the ground. You can use a chalk line too. I mean, there's all sorts of, they have putting strings that are about, a few inches above the ground that you can see all this stuff. But just something to start to train that stroke. Now I'm going to come back to my golf ball. Again, remember, I've got a dot on the back of my golf ball, I've got a dot on my club face, and I'm just going to make sure that they meet. So now you know how to make a putting stroke in golf. Remember, start with ball position. We want it in front of center. We want the handle just a little bit forward, 1 to 2 degrees of forward shaft lean. We're going to get in our posture by bending from those hips forward. You're going to use 2 alignment sticks under your arms to get a feel for the movement pattern. And then we're going to put an alignment stick or a club on the ground to help you understand the structure of the stroke. And the last thing we're going to do is you're going to put a dot on the back of that ball and on the club face, and we're going to get those 2 things to meet for center face contact. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I have 2 playing right here, right now, that I promise will continue to help you improve your game. And remember, please like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and comment.